What's up, team? Welcome back to the Impact Purpose Leadership Podcast. I am Rodolfo Bonates, your beloved host, and we continue with the train rolling on our roundtable episodes. Today, it's a privilege and an honor to have this individual with me, Brianna Clark. Brianna, before I give you the talking baton, just to give the team a little heads up, this wonderful woman, I had the privilege to cross paths with her when I was working at Orangetheory. I hired her. I like to say she was the only manager that I hired from outside of our network, meaning she didn't start as a sales associate. And she worked out. She worked out because of her passion, because of her leadership skills, her passion for people, and making sure that people thrive and success to the best versions of themselves. That's who we have here today, and it's a privilege and honor to have you here, Bri.
Thanks. I'm going to have you do all my interviews when it's time and be like, just call Rodolfo. He knows me. He sells me well. Just call him.
Could be your assistant, right? To book all of your appointments. And how fun is it that what goes around comes around, right?
I know.
However many years ago, I was interviewing you, hiring you, and now we're two podcasters living life to the fullest.
I know. It's so funny that you just mentioned that, because I mean, really, within like the last 24 hours, I've gotten to talk a lot about my life at Orangetheory with my current boss, who I work at a coffee shop currently. Dialed back a little bit, much calmer life than when I was at Orangetheory. Sure. But I was talking to her, and it's exciting to relive what I learned and what I experienced. One of those type 2 fun things, really hard at the moment, and really kind of felt like I was grinding it differently than I ever had for a job before. But looking back on it, the just monumental things that I learned is just crazy.
Life is a journey. I'm gonna always say it. Life is a journey. Ebbs and flows, gets up and gets down.
So much.
And that's the beauty of it, right? But with IPL Fashion, we are a leadership and business podcast where we talk a lot about the success of a business, the success of leaders. But behind every worker, every entrepreneur, every leader, every manager lies a real human being. A human being who had struggles, a human being who maybe had to change mentality to leave a good paying job to start over, but that meant that good things was going to come out of it, right? So why don't you, Bri, introduce to the team Brianna, personally, but also with that professional twist?
Yeah, so personally, my life is a little all over the place right now, but in what feels like a really, really great way. I got married about 2 years ago, and 8 months ago, my husband and I moved in with my in-laws, kind of a step back from this crazy, wild life we were living in Philly. I now live on 32 acres of land in the middle of nowhere in central New York, much slower lifestyle. In that, my professional life also dialed back a little bit. I went from being a regional manager, overseeing 2 Orangetheory studios right outside of Philly, to being a fill-in barista at a coffee shop. And although my life has taken a complete 180, it's also been this really cool opportunity to assess everything that I've learned and where I want to go next. And my professional life ramped up really, really quickly all of a sudden when I was in Philly. I was a nanny for 2 years when we first moved to the area. Then I applied to be an assistant manager at a Treetop Quest, which is a ropes course in Philly. The manager at the time looked at me during my interview and he said, I really think you'd make a good manager. I'm going to forward your application. And I was like, little old me? What?
Right.
Okay. Fast forward, I get that job. And I'm like, okay, I'm a manager. I'm the boss. We're going to do this.
Right.
And I'd worked really, really hard to get there in the rec field. That's what I went to school for. I was really excited. Fast forward a year, a friend of mine from Orangetheory is calling me. So I think you'd make a really good manager. And I have a job. What do you mean? She goes, I really think you'd be great at it. She says, I'm leaving. I think you'd be great at it. Send me your application. I don't give it any thought. I'm like, no, I don't need it. I'm still growing at the job that I'm in. I'm still, just getting settled in. She calls me 3 weeks later. I don't have your application yet. I said, no, you don't, because I have a job. I don't need a job. I sit down with my husband, Kyle, and I'm like, I think I'm going to apply, though. I think I'm going to apply. He says, I think you should. He said, I think there's more growth for you at Orangetheory than there is at Treetop. He said, I know you love it. I know it's fun, but I think there's more growth for you at Orangetheory, and I think you're going to like it. I apply, go through a couple rounds of interview. I meet Rodolfo on my second interview, which, let me tell you, we probably both instantly knew at that point that I was like, this is the guy. We get it. Our interview was like full of laughter. I do my interview with the big boss.
Right,
I
right,
found out many weeks later that it was a pretty instant decision for him with me, and
right,
I didn't even know that. And it was hard. It was hard to let go of the job that I had in my career field.
sure,
I'd spent 7 years getting a bachelor's degree in rec management. It's what I was a manager for. I was like, this is it. This is where I'm supposed to be. Getting the job at Orangetheory was really flattering, but it was actually really hard to let go of where I thought I was supposed to be. But it was a great move. There really was so much more growth for me at Orangetheory, for me as a person and for me as a manager. Even though it was the hardest job I've ever done, I wouldn't change anything about it. I really wouldn't. So
right, right, right. Wow. So sounds like that manager title has been following you around for a very long time, right?
and like out of the blue, I mean, when I tell you that my jaw hit the ground when someone else told me I would be a good manager right away, I I just was expecting there to be other steps before that,
Right,
which, looking back on my high school career, even and my college career, I've always held some kind of leadership position. But at the time, I was like, it's so fun.
right,
I
right,
didn't,
right,
I didn't put two and two together as it being just who I was and a role that
right.
I was built to do. Just always thought of it as fun. I
Sure.
think it took somebody else to point that out in my professional life that I was ready.
It's usually how it works, right? You
Yeah.
get signs from other people showing you, hey, you're in the right direction. Keep going. Keep going through
Yes.
that door.
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Bree. And what about now? You're a barista. Has that manager
I
word followed you
am.
around yet?
Just yesterday.
Just
Just yesterday,
yesterday.
Ro. I am not kidding you. Just yesterday.
Wow, look at
I
that.
I had this idea. So a very, 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 very small problem they have at Coffee Mania is they don't have a system online where all their schedules are posted. Every time the
Sure.
schedule changes, they print out a new
Oof.
schedule and put it on the wall at each of their locations. And I went,
Right,
this is absurd. This is so absurd.
right.
So I got a hold of the HR and I said, Christy, if I make a Google Doc with everyone's schedule on it, do you think you all will use it? And she said, well, what's a Google Doc? I said, oh, let me show you. Michelle, who is the owner of Coffee Mania, just happens to be in the office too. We talk for 2 hours. By the end of that, I am now going to lead a team initiative, team building at our next
Wow.
staff meeting in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I'm going to help facilitate a manager meeting for them because they need a little help with a few things.
Wow.
Just
Wow.
yesterday, that conversation happened.
Oh man, it follows you around. Which leads into my very first question for you. Do you believe a leader is created or a leader is born?
I think a leader is born. I do think that people have a natural ability to lead. I think a great leader is someone who invests the time in themselves and in the people around them.
Wow.
I do think there's a distinct difference between being a leader and being a good leader. And I
Wow.
think that part takes work.
All right. Well, manager, different fields, right?
Yeah.
We have the rec field. You have a regional fitness manager, original manager in the fitness world. And then now a barista leading towards a manager as well.
Yeah. Totally by accident too. Yeah.
What the common denominator? So many different fields, but you seem to always find that calling, which is leadership, which is management.
I think part of it for me, A little bit is my type A personality. Totally will own up to that. And
Sure.
I'm someone who, eye on the prize. I'm super driven. I super want things done. I think when I was younger, I fell into those roles more just out of pure determination to get things done. As I've grown and as I've learned, it's more so about my love for problem solving, my love for big picture, my love for people. You get all of those aspects in a manager role. Now I'm looking for problems to solve and to better people and better businesses and better my own situation. And
Right.
so I think for me it's actually not even that I want to be the manager, it's that I want to do all the things that a
Sure.
manager role naturally does.
Sure. Sure. And what's the favorite part about being a leader, or manager?
Watching other people grow. I used to say this to my people at Orange Theory. I'm teaching you something that is hopefully going beyond just the job of Orange Theory. Because being a sales associate, it's not that hard. Like we teach you those skills. We teach you how to pick up the phone,
Right.
but learning the organizational skills, the conflict resolution skills, how to manage your stress, how to find peace and chaos. All of those things happen everywhere all the time. So let's practice them in a really low stakes situation.
Right, right. Something I always took from Orange Theory is everything is fixable, right? But you only have one chance to make a first impression. And whether we like to admit it or not, we are all creatures of judgment. We judge how people look, we judge how people speak, we judge how people dress, all in that first interaction.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about that statement?
When I became the manager, I was an outside hire for both of those companies. And there were people at both of those companies who had been there for at least 3 years. So I am walking into a space knowing far less than these people that have been there for many years at these companies. I had to learn how to suspend my own judgment very quickly in
Wow.
order to gain the trust, the respect, and the authority of these people that didn't know me,
Wow.
And so, in hoping to suspend my own judgment and be really open and be really honest and be really accepting, the hope is that that's returned to me.
Wow.
If I can come
Wow.
across as someone who's accepting and willing and excited and just there to help, not there to, reprimand or, all those bossy manager
Right,
things.
right, right, right.
More like steer the ship, just help
Yeah.
it being steered. So I think because I had to be in those positions twice now at a really high level of being a manager, I have found that as an individual, one of the skills that I have learned is to absolutely let go of that first impression
Right.
more so than other people.
Wow. Really, really good topic you got us into. I always say that every story is relatable. And one of our biggest powers as a human is the ability to communicate and tell our stories to the world. Because I bet you right now there is somebody who maybe is starting a manager career and they're being hired from the outside. So I ask you this question. If you had to give three advice, and you can expand on your words
Mhm.
however you want to deliver, it's for that individual who is starting their career in leadership right now, but it's being hired from the outside, where there are individuals in there who might know more than them, where there are individuals there who might think they should be up for that promotion, right? So if you had to break it down to three advice to help these individuals, what would it be?
My first piece would be admit to knowing less.
Wow.
Admit to the fact that the people that are working for you know more than you do and be okay with that. Because those people are actually going to help you as long as
Wow.
you're open to the fact that you know less than them. My other piece would be remember that you are fresh excitement. There's a very good chance that the reason you're being hired as an outside hire is because there's a need for a new spark, some new energy, some new excitement, a new insight, a new way of looking at things. You have the privilege and the honor of bringing that to the table. And my third piece is everybody fucks up and that's okay. Like
Yes.
it's just
Yes.
it's okay because The piece about being a new manager means you're not only learning a new business, but you're also learning how to be a manager of that new business. When I started at Orangetheory, I had to learn all about Orangetheory while simultaneously learning how to be a manager of Orangetheory.
Wow. Admit to knowing less. Remember that you're fresh excitement and everyone fucks up and it's totally okay. Wow. That's amazing. Team, I usually save to do this little reminder at the end, but I think what started already has been so good. This content is full of gems. But this is a reminder to you. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help the IPL podcast grow, help us get into the right individuals who need this type of information. You guys know that everything we talk about here is not easy work. It's hard work. We're going to get Bri into the struggles of leadership in a minute. I want to keep it positive a little bit longer, but we will get into the struggles because it's part of it. It's
Yeah.
part of it. It's not rainbows and butterflies.
No.
It's actually one of the hardest job you're ever going to do, but it's the most rewarding job you're ever going to get to do if you look at your people as the investment in this career. One thing that I've always admired was your shine sheets.
Yes. You want to know what's funny, Ro? That came from Coffee Mania.
Oh, look at that. Look at
That
that.
is something that I brought with me from Coffee
Well,
Mania.
two-part question here.
Yeah.
First, how important is the people on your team? And second is explain these shine sheets
Yeah.
and where the idea came from and the return of investment you saw within your team, within the different teams you've used this strategy behind.
So people are everything. I mean, my background also started in team building. My very, very first recreation job was a team building facilitator. So there is, needless to say, there is something in me that has always loved people, the dynamics of people, the growth of people, interactions with people. People are fascinating to me. I went and got a minor in psychology because I think people are just fascinating. Fascinating. So
and there are people who look at us like we have three freaking heads, right? Like how
yes.
does this individual say that?
Yes. I know that there are people that look at me and they're like, we're just people. And I'm like, no. I thrive so much on helping people see their own potential, see their own growth, understand how to solve their own problems. I don't have all the answers, but it doesn't mean that I can't be a good soundboard. It doesn't mean that I can't be a good guiding light. It doesn't mean that I can't help you see the writing on the wall. It's not about being the person with all the answers. It's about being a guiding force for someone. So shine sheets. As a manager, I had a little box on the wall that I let my staff decorate, and they actually came up with the name Shine Sheets. So it was a staff participatory project. What happens is you have these little pieces of paper, and if someone does something nice for you, covers a shift, solves a problem, helps with the customer service problem that you don't know the answer to, anything that comes along the way in your work day that someone helps you do something makes you go, oh man, I appreciate them. Right. You write that down on the shine sheet, you stick it in the box, and then at our monthly meetings, those would get distributed. And it's just this moment of, it's great to hear that you do a good job. It's great to get a paycheck. It's great to, keep the business going, but to feel appreciated by your teammates and to feel appreciated as equally as you appreciate them, to have all of that admiration be mutual just sets you up for so much more success. And I have seen that people become more invested in wanting to be there if they feel appreciated. So the shine sheets get distributed, and we sit there at the end of the meeting and everyone reads their shine sheets, and you can hear everybody going, oh, that's so nice. Oh, I remember that. Or, oh, thank you. Right. And my team got really invested in making sure everybody got at least one shine sheet. Right. So then I used to have people that would write at least one, and then that kind of caught on. So I had two people that made sure everybody got one, and then everybody made sure everybody, so it's just this like snowball effect. All of a sudden, everybody leaves the meeting with at least 5 shine sheets of people just telling them, thank you, you made my day, you're so fun to work with, And I have also found that As a manager, it's built in your job description to praise. Totally. That has to go hand in hand. It's within your job description to reprimand, to praise, to correct. That's part of the job. It's not part of your coworker's job to tell you how much they appreciate you.
Yes.
But if you build it into the social aspect of the job and it's heard and it's seen, people become more invested in each other.
Right, right. That's amazing. We're all think of a car, right? A car needs gas, or now electric cars needs electricity to drive. We are emotional beings. We are emotional beings. We're full of them, full of emotions, and we need to fill our tanks. We need to fill those emotional tanks. And a simple appreciation, you have no idea how long it goes. And I feel like maybe old school managers don't do it enough, where it's always constructive feedback. And where's the love? Where's the good things that I
Yeah.
do? What you did with the shine sheets was inserted into the culture of that business, that it's a culture where we're going to appreciate everybody's hard work,
Yeah.
that everybody's loved here, that everybody is taken care of. And when you create such a culture like that, Brie, money and paycheck is the last thing people care for,
Yeah.
because it's a place where they actually want to be part of.
And that next level of it not just coming from the manager. I
100%.
think that's the piece that I learned was really powerful. Because I'd like to believe that as the time went on at Orangetheory, I got better at that balance of critique, okay, wait, let's praise. I'd like to
Right.
think that I got better at that. But the piece that became important with the shine sheets is it's not coming from your manager, it's
Right.
it's coming from the person sitting next to you. And that feels like, okay, now my manager's not just invested in me, the person next to
Everybody.
me is also invested in me. And
Right.
I think that that's what really helped.
Right. Right. Let's get into struggles.
Mm, aren't there
Because
always?
there's always struggles, right? What would you say was one of the biggest curveballs that you've had to endure? That maybe at the time was a curveball, but now you pulled that information and you can learn and grow from it. Right?
For sure, for sure. When I first started at Treetop, the biggest piece for me is I am so type A, I am so driven, I am so go, go, go to get work done. That next piece of jumping from, sales associate, or for us, they were guides at Treetop Quest, that entry level position, that next jump is essentially a never ending to do list.
Right.
And for someone who really likes to get stuff done and is really task oriented and is really driven and is really excited, I could have worked 100 hours a week and no one would have
Right.
blinked and they would have been
Right.
like, man, she just works really hard.
Right.
And I had to learn balance. I had to learn balance as a manager. And to me, that felt like such a non work related thing. I came in and I was handed a culture that was pretty high at both of those jobs when I was a manager. So my job was to sustain that. And I was handed businesses that were really liked and people came to them. I didn't have to start anything from the ground up. So to me, learning how to balance my own life felt very disconnected from what I thought being a manager meant and
Right.
what I thought I was going to have to learn.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
already had a lot of the manager skills in me. I didn't know it, but they were somewhere in there.
Right.
Bree was built to be a manager,
Right.
and I
Right.
just had to refine those things. But the biggest piece for me was I had to find manager Bree separate from personal Bree, and that took a long time.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna ask you then that. What can you? What's one trick that you use to start rationalizing this, right? Because the important thing, team, is, when we spoke about this before, every human being rationalizes a decision, but they execute it emotionally. So what Bree is saying here, why it took so long, is because in the beginning she rationalized that she needs a work-life balance. But her personality trait, and we've talked about personality traits,
Mhm.
she's probably falling under that dominant quadrant that we talked
Mhm.
about in the disc assessment, is the go-getter
Yeah,
personality, is the work, 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 work. I need results, I need results, I need results.
for sure.
And that emotion was screaming at her when she tried to clock out, go home, put everything down, but her phone is ringing with a billion questions, right? So,
Yep.
what would be kind of the first step? Because it is something that takes a long time, team. It's something that you have to develop, it's something that you have to go through the experience. But if you could give them that first step to identifying that, what would it be?
There are a couple baby steps, I would say, that kind of happen all at once. One, my support system around me was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" My husband, Kyle, looked at me and was like, "You gotta put your freaking work away, dude." At first, I'd walk in the door and Kyle would go, "You have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to rant about work, and then we're done." So that first baby step was not even something that happened from me. It was the people around me recognizing that I was getting lost in work. The second baby step that happened very, very slowly over a long amount of time, I started to trust my team. I built a really, really good team, and I was really proud of them. But I realized, for not only my sake as a human and an individual and my sanity, but also for their confidence as a team and their abilities, I had to let go. And I make it seem like I was just like, "Yeah, I had to let go." Absolutely not.
There's
We're talking
a
about something that took,
lot of phone calls
like,
between Rodolfo and
6
Bree.
months, like, longer even, you know? So, so, so much, and
Right.
so, so, so much, and so much of, like, going and taking my dog for a walk and leaving my phone at home and being really anxious about that for 20 minutes. It was a lot of baby steps of
Yeah.
that. And the outcome of that, after really maybe 4 years total of being a manager, the person that I am today, very different about work-life balance, and will never prioritize that top filter of work ever again. Not
Right.
because I won't find a field that I don't love, not because I won't find a team I don't love. I'm hoping that those things happen again. But in regards to the way I balanced, I will never go back to what I did.
New skills,
Yeah.
right? New Bree. The power of delegation is what I
Oh,
see here in
oh,
the trust in your team, right?
yeah,
Delegate, but effectively delegate
yeah,
and have a great support system, man. That's really
so
important.
much, so
I
much.
say that we're all average of the 5 people we are most around of. So let that sink in. You're an average of the 5 people you're most around it. So if you don't have individuals who love you, who tell you the truth, man, the truth
Yeah,
hurts, but it's
yeah.
fucking liberating. It's better to hear the truth and let it burn a little bit than to live a lifetime within a lie. Well, if you had to give 3 characteristics to a great leader, what would those be?
Empathetic, approachable, and driven.
Let's expand on them. Empathetic. What does it mean to truly have empathy?
It's my people. So it's always back to my people. Behind the leader, behind the manager, behind the sales associate, behind the barista that I'm currently am, behind the job, there's a person.
Right.
And your people are going to connect with you if you all see each other as people. The
Wow.
job has to come second. It just does.
Yeah.
Money makes the world go round. I'm not going to dispute that fact. There's no getting around that. But wouldn't it be nice if we were all doing a job that we liked and were happy to be there and made true connections with the people that we were working with?
Right.
Because
Wow.
ultimately, those pieces are what then make the job more fun, more excited. You're more passionate about it, and you're more driven to do it better. You're more apt to be a better teammate and to be a harder worker if you're connecting on that personal level. And I think the difference between someone who knows how to lead people and someone who is a great leader is that empathy piece that breaks down that wall.
Right. Right. Wow. Wow. Care about your people, team.
Care
That's
about your people.
everything I say here.
Care.
Approachable. What does it mean to be approachable?
you're just like everybody else. As a leader, the difference between a boss and a leader. A boss is cracking the whip where a leader is
Right.
helping you pull. The approachable piece is you have to be part of your team. I might be driving the ship, but it's not my ship. It's everybody's ship. And the only way I get good feedback, the only way I get good results, the only way that you can change things, the only way you can improve things is if, as a leader, your team feels comfortable to come to you and share everything within reason, but everything.
Driven. I love that one. I agree. You gotta want it.
Got to be a purpose behind the work. And I think as a leader, that's exponentially more important because there's a very good chance that if your team is there, okay, so great, we've got good culture, they like you, they're bought into it, then what? What's that next thing we're reaching for as a studio, as a company, as a business? And there's a very good chance that somewhere in that process, your drive as a leader is what is driving the rest of the team. You're the one setting that end goal, you're that one setting the expectation. All those other things are what help get people on board to that. But I'm not gonna lie, it's not like my hourly people are like, I have this goal and this dream, and I'm like, you're here for a paycheck, and you know what?
Right.
We're gonna be real about that. That's cool. It's okay.
Right.
So
Right.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you what I'm driven towards, and I'm gonna get you to get on my bandwagon, and we're gonna go drive towards it together.
Right.
And I also think there's this piece that as a manager, you got to walk the walk, you got to talk the talk, you got to practice what you preach. So if you've got your own set of goals and they're separate from the team, it's the visualization of you still driving to work towards something.
Right.
I always thought about that at Orangetheory because as managers, you're always 1 month ahead.
Right.
So my team's working on, September and I'm already planning October.
Right.
And that's a piece that, they might not see. They're like, "Brie, what are you doing all day?" And I'm like, "Oh, let me tell you." Like it's separate from their drive, but the point is the team is still seeing that in me. They're still
Right.
seeing me working hard, working towards something, working towards improvement.
Right.
Those things are contagious.
A hundred
That
percent.
excitement is contagious. That drive is contagious. That want for more is contagious for growth. So as a leader, if you are the helm of that and you're always moving forward, in
Boom.
some fashion, your team will follow.
Right. Leading by example. Wow. Empathetic, approachable, and driven. Three characteristics of a great leader. And I think these are the first time I'm hearing these three together like this.
Nice.
And I agree. I agree every step of the way. Empathy is huge. Being approachable and trusting is even more huge. And then driven towards that common goal, creating that bus that you're gonna
Yeah.
invite all of your
Yeah.
all of your riders in, right?
Yeah.
Bree, I want to finish with a golden ticket, and
Oh,
I've
okay.
I've asked every guest this question.
Okay.
I
Okay.
want you to think of Brianna in maybe her darkest days of her life. And if you could give that Brianna some advice to help her get out of that mindset, to help her get out of that darkness, what would you say to that Brianna today?
I think the me in my darkest days needed to know that that's okay. I mean, darkness hurts, struggle hurts, it's uncomfortable, it's not where you want to live by any means. But man, the other side of it is okay. The other side of it is growth, and the other side of it is weightless. And the other side of it is I get to learn from those really hard times and those really dark places. But the reality of it is, for as hard as it was, and for as much as it was so painful, I've learned so much about me and what I want and where I want to go and who I want to be and who I am and how to regulate myself in the world instead of letting the world regulate me,
Trust the process.
for sure. And I'm telling you, the person that I was going through it had no trust because that
Yeah.
person was so low.
Yeah.
And I think that that's totally fair. No one wants to live in that space. And as humans who want to experience really bright and uplifting and easy, fun things. No one wants to live in that space,
Right.
but also how do you know what's good and what works and what doesn't if you never swing the other way?
Right. You got to
So
experience it. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. This is good. Projects, things you'd like to share with the IPL team. I know you have, well, you got your amazing project with your podcast
I
that I think
do.
it helps a lot. It helps a
I
lot of people
do.
understand that, again, that life, you're going to experience shit that hurts, but it makes you better at the end of the day if you're able to extract the piece of information that life is trying to teach you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So share away, girl. What?
My piece of information that life gave me one day is, girl, you need a creative outlet. So, my creative outlet is Doing It Scared podcast on Instagram. For anybody that wants to follow me, I'm Doing It Scared _ podcast. My podcast is all about the fact that success is not cookie cutter. Adulting is fucking hard. There's no guidebook, there's no rules. And in the process of getting to make your own rules, that's really scary and it's really overwhelming. But truth be told, we're all living that same life. So we're all scared. We're all doing it. We're all learning from it. And for me, it's been this really, really fun creative outlet. And I just love it so much. It's been
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. 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 So there you go, team. Doing it scared _ podcast on
That's me.
Instagram. They can find you on Apple Podcasts
Apple
and
Podcast and
Spotify.
Spotify. Yep.
Sweet.
Yep.
Soon video too, team. That's what
Yeah,
we're working on.
coming. I got that. That was Rodolfo's piece of advice to me last week. Girl, you got to get on video.
Bree, what a privilege, what an honor to have this conversation with you. It's always a great conversation. Last week, I
Thanks.
had the privilege to be on your podcast, and it was so refreshing. And today,
Thanks.
man, once again, we just got to open our mouths,
Yeah.
because there are people there who needs it. There are people, even if it's one,
Yeah.
they need this type
Yeah.
of information. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining me on the
Of
IPL pod.
course. Thank you for having me. It was definitely fun. Like we said at the beginning, full circle for us. And
Yes.
I told you it was going to be fun to learn how much I've grown, Ro. I knew you could be
Yes.
proud of me.
Yes. Couldn't be prouder. Man, couldn't be prouder. Well, team, there you have it. Brianna Clark. Team, thank you guys for the privilege to be in front of you guys another time, another day. Appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all listening to me and Brianna today. It's nothing but love. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace and love, baby.